Hope you've already watched part 1 and part 2, where I go over Eden's geographical significance and its purpose. If not, they're in the description down below. For this one, we're going to talk about what actually went down and why. Now, I won't get into Satan's motive, that's for the Satan video I'll make, but I'll cover the rest of it. First up, why Eve? Why not Adam? Especially when Adam wanted to eat from the tree already, at least in my theory. I believe it's because why go for the guy at the edge of the tether when you could go for the tether? 2 birds, 1 stone. But also, Eve was just more gullible and more naive. Paul says this. She was younger, she wasn't there when God gave the command, so he went for the easier one. Younger, naive, gullible, and Adam knew it was wrong. Eve wasn't so sure. He knew it was wrong, so he wouldn't do it because Eve was there. He wanted it to protect her, keep her safe, uphold her, be upright before her. So Satan either lied to Eve in front of Adam, and I do believe it was a lie because the New Testament calls him the father of lies. So he invented the lie, and when was that? Well, probably here. I know some theologians say it was a half-truth or a truth that was like twisted, sort of like what he did with Jesus at the temptation of Christ, where he never really lied, but he twisted the truth. I don't think he did that here. I think he just flat out lied. And so he lied to Eve. Either Adam was next to Eve hearing this lie and let it go down, so Adam was being passive. Why? Because men love excuses when they are from outside of us. Inwardly, we don't like excuses. But outward exceptions, yeah, of course. For instance, if we're injured, yeah, I could still go to this thing, but I won't. And I'll say I'm injured. Or we're thirsty, we're hungry, we're tired. Excuses, excuses, excuses from external factors. External excuses, men love them. So it could be that, where Adam wanted the fruit. He wasn't going to do it to Eve. He wasn't going to tell her to eat the fruit. But hey, the snake's doing it. You know, it's not me. I'm not causing Eve to stumble, even though I am by my passivity. That's what lots of pastors have taught. And that is very much a valid reading of this. But I don't think that's what happened. I think theory 2 is what happened, where Adam was with Eve, but not like next to her. He was like over here fixing the tree or pruning a bush, and he saw Eve and the snake, but maybe he recognized the snake like, oh yeah, that's my boy. That's my boy, whatever Satan's name is. He's my fellow guardsman. Yeah, we talk all the time. Nothing different about this than any other day. Or maybe it's, I've seen him when I went up the mountain sometimes. Among the divine council. I've seen him. Yeah, that's that one prince. I know him. Either way, Adam was out of earshot, so Satan lied to Eve, and then Adam turns around and sees Eve just as she's taking the fruit. He runs over and she bites it. And here is where Adam failed, I believe. Because if he had been next to her, this couldn't have happened. This next failing. Because it was too late. Because being passive, I do believe, is a sin. Inaction is action. You still made a choice. So I believe this is when Adam sinned. Because of the parallel of Jesus and Adam. Jesus is the second or the last Adam, which means he was our final priest king, who did what Adam couldn't do, which is be loyal to God all the way through, be sinless. But that's not where the Bible ends it. That's not the only parallel of Eden that the Bible has with Christ. And we all miss this all the time. I've missed this for a long time. Who did Christ die for? He died for his bride. We are his bride. The church, we're his bride. He died for his bride. Who else had a bride that failed? So if Adam ran up to Eve, she had already taken the bite. Adam could have gone to God and said, look, I plead with you. I know what's done is done. And I know the penalty is death. Please spare her. And God would say, I can't. Because I must enact justice. And then Adam would say, and take my life instead. I offer you my life for her life. Punish me and let my wife go, please. And God would say, I oblige, and he would take Adam's life on behalf of Eve. And then he would raise him right back up. Because I don't think Jesus was risen only to prove he was who he said he was. Only for God to say, I stamp my approval. This is what's going to happen. This is proof of the future resurrection. I think that was part of it. But I think the other part was Jesus didn't deserve to die. And so it would be an injustice if he stayed dead. God of justice. He doesn't do injustice. And so I think Adam would have risen and we'd all be pure. So I think that's when Adam failed, when he didn't die for his bride. Instead, he took it and he ate it himself because he had wanted to do that from before Eve was made, which is why Eve was made. Now, fast forward a bit and you have these curses. I believe each curse was also for our benefit, sort of like how a punishment is for the benefit of a child. For instance, the snake, one, it hid the messianic prophecy from the forces of evil before they were even evil, because at that point only Satan had done an evil. And proof of this is in the historical record. Nobody ever knew that was a messianic prophecy until after Christ. At least nobody who wrote it down. 2, it showed an earthly shadow of a divine reality involving Satan, which we'll get into in my Satan video. I know, I keep teasing you with it, but I'm trying to keep this as short as possible. You know, the Bible hyperlinks all the time. Let me hyperlink a little bit, you know? After that, there was the curse of the ground, which taught humility, discipline, perseverance, and dependence on God. 4 things Adam lacked in that crucial moment with the fruit and with Eve. If he had had perseverance and discipline, he would have not fallen to temptation. And if he had humility, he would have known to stay dependent on God, because he ate the fruit not for its taste, but for its power, so he could be independent of God. Eve's womb curse teaches the value of life because they had thrown away theirs so easily. And what do you throw away that required great pain to obtain in the first place? Nothing, not easily. If you had to choose to go through pain to get it, you're keeping it. So it teaches you the value of life, childbirth pains. And it also kept open the vehicle of salvation. It kept that door wide open because God could have made her barren. He cursed other women with barrenness in the Old Testament. He could have done that with Eve, but he didn't because he wanted Christ to redeem us. Now, I'm open to ideas about the desire of the husband and ruling over and all. That part, I cannot find anything that would be beneficial. It seems entirely a curse. I don't see any positives, only negatives, but maybe you could help me with that. If you have an idea, please leave it in the comments because I would love to hear it, because I tried really hard to figure out how that could be a good thing in any way, what lessons it could teach, and I'm at a loss. So please let me know. This is just a theory after all. Maybe there is nothing, but with mortality, even that has something good to it, because it helps us due to our fallen state, because our fallen state needs to end. If we lived forever, pre-Holy Spirit, we would become monstrous. And you see this with the flood narrative. We always ended up, God even said, dang, they're always going to end up this way. Imagine if we lived forever. We would all become worse than Lamech. So that was for our own sake as well. Now, what about Ezekiel 28, which I'm only mentioning because it's like, well, wait, all this talk about the Satan video, why are you bringing this up? Because it's not about Satan. It's about Adam. For proof of this, it has parallels, lots of parallels. Ezekiel 28:14 and Genesis 2:16 parallel, where this being in Ezekiel is placed on God's holy mountain, and Adam is placed in Eden. Ash and dust parallel, where it says, and I have turned you to ashes on the earth. Ash in Hebrew is Epher. Dust in Hebrew is Afar. There is one letter difference between them, Ayin and Aleph. And you see this parallel brought by the Bible in Genesis 18:27, which says, I am but dust and ashes. I am but Afar and Epher. Now everyone talks about the guardian cherub. It's cherub. People say cherub, but it's really, the CH is always supposed to be a cherub, but the hurts my throat. So it's from a cough. Like the Hebrew letter cough, not not that kind of cough. The Hebrew letter cough. And so it's always pronounced but I just say ka because that's the closest I can get without hurting myself. So a cherub, is that a class of angels? So therefore Satan was a cherub. We'll get into that, not in the Satan video, but in the angel video. Another hyperlink for you. But it is symbolic of Adam, because anointed, guardian. What's anointed? Priests and kings. And what is Adam? The priest king. I believe priests are anointed and kings are anointed because they used to be one office, and Adam had that office. Adam was the first priest king. And you see that in Ezekiel 28. You were in Eden, the garden of God, and every precious stone was your adornment, gave 9 stones, and gold was the craftsmanship of your settings and your mountings in you. So stones were put in gold that was on him. The high priest of Israel had 12 stones for the 12 tribes in gold. It's high priest imagery. What would Satan be the high priest of? You know? I can't think of anything. But Adam, we already confirmed, he was the first high priest. He was the first priest king. And then the 9 is because he fell short. 12 is like perfection, 9 falling short of perfection. Plus you see, in the abundance of your trading, they filled the midst of you with violence and you sinned. So something else filled the midst of this with sin, with violence. Did we fill Satan with sin? Or did Satan fill us with sin? With our trading? With that discussion? See what I'm saying? Now, of course, it's also Tyre. Tyre was a trading empire, so there's that as well. But we're talking about the Edenic imagery here. And then finally, the last line is, and you shall cease to exist forever. At least that's what it's translated as. But I put forth that it should actually be translated as, you shall not live forever. Because it is an extension of verses 9 and 10. Will you indeed still say, I am a god, before the face of your killers? And in fact, you are a human and not a god in the hand of those who pierce you. You will die the death of the uncircumcised by the hand of strangers, and you shall not live forever. The curse of the mortality. Adam. Plus, this ties it all together in a nice neat bow with the final part of the Edenic story, which is when cherubim are placed at the border of Eden to prevent Adam and Eve from getting back into it, and the wilderness, and anyone else. Why were they placed there? It's because Adam and Eve were replaced. 2 cherubim cast out, 2 guardian cherubs anointed, cast out, 2 cherubim put in. It doesn't say 2, it just says plural, cherubim. I'm putting forth 2 because 2 for 2. You know, it makes sense, doesn't it? Doesn't it? You know? And as for the fire sword, you'll have to wait for the angels video. That is its own beast. We'll get into that later. Thank you for watching. I hope this excited you. I hope this enticed you to look into this a bit more. And if you have any theories of your own, please let me know. I would love to hear them regarding Eden. God bless you, and I hope to see you again soon.